You'll probably see me do more with tones later. Okay, why did that fill right there? We have a hole somewhere. I should make that lower. Sorry. Thinking. Oh, that's not what I want. Yeah, let's lower that just a little bit. I'm gonna use a tone in the fill bucket. It just kind of fills the area of whatever's closed in or closed off. In this case, of that effect, that tone. Now you're going to edit the tone and rotate it other way. There. Now, I like the tones because I can move them around like that and get the effect exactly where I want it. That's just a perfect size. Actually, I'm just going to delete this later for now. Oh, right. I'm so making sense right now, aren't I? That's not gonna look good. That's not gonna look good. Some of the tools are kind of glitchy right now, cause when it doesn't show when they're recording, but the mouse pointer kind of flashes while you're recording, so I can't always tell exactly where I am when I'm using the tool, which is kind of annoying. Just gonna smooth it out a little bit. I like to fill the boxes with white, like I said, because when I'm toning, if I need to clean up a line or something, I could, draw on the white box, but you can't see it. Just makes it easier. Alright, yeah, I like that. Alright, so there's our gradation. It's gonna need some cleaning up, I can tell, but alright. Now that I did that, we can look at the image itself, layer 2. And we'll start the grayscaling and cleaning it up. When I do just gotta, I do panel by panel usually. And I go in and clean up my inking job, which is going to be kind of hard with my flashing tool again. But I clean up my inking job and then I add the grayscale. Exciting, exciting, right? Right. So I just use the eraser tool and a curved line tool. Oh, Lucky just got on. This should be interesting. But I just erase kind of blobs in the ink anywhere it's rough. Or any lines I don't actually want. See, I kind of didn't do the best job inking right here. And then if I just want to get rid of a line because it's no good, I can just erase the whole thing. And then just redraw it. And it usually actually blends in with the ink really well. Can't even tell unless you know. Makes it easier that Hillary has a round head. And poofy hair. Did my roommate leave? Da-da-da-da. I really hope all this audio is being picked up. I'm sure I'm talking quieter than I used to. So that's gonna annoy me when I'm editing, cause then I'm gonna have to adjust the volume. So I'm gonna pay for all this later. And all the background noise, I bet is a blast too. So I'm sure I'm not gonna be able to adjust the volume all that great. I'm gonna have fun. I can feel it. Just okay. I would save myself so much time if I would do a quality inking job. I just can't be bothered. That looks pretty good. Good enough for me. I strive for quality here. Alright, now I'm gonna grayscale. I'll just go back to my fill bucket and just use these different grays here. Just use 16 shades basically. Hillary's hair is 73% gray or black, depending on how you look at it. And I just fill it in on the same layer just because the quality looks better. Her streaks are 20%. Her eyes I don't fill in, even though I probably should. And I don't remember what color I usually gave her. This is the neighbor, by the way. Her mentor neighbor that she's mentioned. That probably no one remembers at this point because it's been so long. Whoops, I missed part of her hair. Okay, then we'll go in here, just using the fill bucket, and since you have this panel line here, even though it's on another layer, since I have the all layers checked, it uses that line and doesn't fill in the rest of the page. Now I have to decide what color I want on the rest of it. Let's do that. I usually don't really plan in advance random colors. Unless like if they're not going to be consistent, then I don't really care. Like Hillary's hair stays the same, obviously, so I use the same grays there, but if it's something that's not going to ever appear again, then it doesn't really matter. Like this motorcycle that you can't tell it's a motorcycle. Who cares, right? Right? Best shine ever. My lighting skills leave much to be desired. Whoops. Sometimes, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see this gray that I was using is highlighted, but for some reason it's still using the 0% black. And it does that sometimes, and I don't know why. Not very often though. Smooth out the edges a little bit. Totally looks great. Totally. Totally looks like a shine and not just a random white stripe. Don't you agree? Okay, now that panel's done, so now I go on to the next panel. See, this is kind of why I left the option for the chat, so I'd have some things to talk about when I'm just repeating things. I think if I did it on a weekend, or at a different time, or let people know in advance, it probably would have worked out better. But I didn't. Because I just kind of randomly decided to do this right before starting. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say while I'm just repeating the same thing. We're getting back into the action in the comic. I'm talking quiet again. I'm gonna hate myself later. Just kind of going through an artist block and a writer's block. So that's kind of why I wasn't updating much, is because I wasn't really sure how to transition the next couple scenes. So I finally kind of figured out what I wanted to do, which is why I'm able to update more than I was. Now we're getting into more action, which should be fun. And hopefully I'll be able to actually focus on action for a while. We are going to, I don't know if you want to consider this a spoiler, and if you do, I guess you can yell at me later, but tough cookies if you're listening now. But we are, after a little bit of watching the fight between Hillary and Ven, we are going to switch to Spyro for a little bit. Which actually, we're gonna kind of go back and forth between Hillary and Spyro near the end of the chapter. So we're gonna go to Spyro for a little while, but it's actually only gonna be maybe, if I planned ahead, I'd probably know better, but a couple pages. Because there's not a lot to say for the first time we go to him. Okay, adding her gray now. At least I'm kind of focusing on making the page. It's easier to just grayscale, because I have her grayscale memorized. Oop, I'm missing a line. Shoot. If you can see here, her streak is supposed to be right there. And not brown. Let's see, I don't know if there's gonna be enough I can undo. Shoot. Nope. Alright, let's redo it then, since I have to fix it anyway. I like the undo tool, or undo function. Let's see here. I wonder if anybody would notice if I just left it. I guess you would now, since I pointed it out. Yeah, I better do it. Because it kind of just looks funny. Maybe only because I would notice, but... Alright. This is the downside of grayscaling in the same layer that the lines are on. When you have to fix something that's already grayscaled. Like this. Whoop, I'm on the wrong gray. Kind of is a pain. Save myself a lot of trouble if I just... Okay, that'll work. I wasn't sure if that would work, but it does. Alright. Alright, yeah, that looks better. More correct, anyway. I mean, it's still not the greatest thing ever, because it's my art, for crying out loud, but... Oh, am I gonna have to... Tones, when you just use the fill bucket, they kind of don't go right up against a line, especially my rough lines. Like you can see, even when I use the fill bucket on the same layer, it will leave these white pixels that it doesn't fill in because they're really a light gray, which is more obvious with a gradation usually because it's a solid tone. That's kind of what I'm smoothing out right now, is trying to get rid of the pixels against that one side of her head. Alright, pretty frequently, I guess, when I'm making a page, I will look at it outside of Manga Studio so I can see what it will look like when I upload it. So you can see, like right here, there's still a little bit of pixelation. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but right here there's a little bit more pixelation. So I want to fix that. See, you can't really see it in Manga Studio. So I'm just gonna go over that line a little bit. There's also a bit of it's kind of weird against this line too, so I'm trying to smooth that out. If I just use the line tool, it would be easier. But when do I do things the easy way, right?